In this video I'm going to show you how to use the IDE Apache NetBeans for developing programs in Java, and I will be discussing Java as the first language that you learn, Introduction to Java, or which is known as Java 1. Now this is the IDE that you see here. First thing, we need to start a new project. Now that you can do from here, or you can go to file and say new project. So once you click new project, it gives you this. Here we will be selecting this option, Java with Ant and Java application. We say next. Now here project name, here you're going to put the name. Let's say we name it as Java 1 demo. Now here we will be discussing the basics of Java, means the structure of Java language, the other control structures. So we need to have this main class where we would be doing the main coding or the main programming. So we need to check this checkbox. So here we have our first program. Now this is a complete program. Just to test that everything is okay, we can come and click this run play button or run button and see if it gives us any error or warning. You can see here it says build successful. It means everything is okay. Now to make things clearer, or to make this the work area that we have here neat and clean, we need to just remove these comments. So now you can see that we have the package name and the class name. Now always remember that in Java, when you have a public class, the name of that file, the Java file, should also be the same as here. You can see here it says Java 1 demo. Here also it says Java 1 demo.java. Right here we have a package. We will go into detail about packages, but I would just show you here how to add a package and how to add classes into your project. So you can see here it gives us one package which is Java 1 demo. Let's say, or before that, let's say we want to add more classes here. So I just need to come and right click this, new, and click class from here. It's going to ask us the name of the class. Let's say the name is A, and here you can see it shows us the package in which package we want to include this class. So if we have multiple packages, it's going to show us here, and we can select in which package we want that class to be. So now we can click finish, and we have our class here, class A, and you can see here this one is also public because the name of the file is also a.java. Right now we can add one more package here. So I right click on the source package, new, and I say Java package. Let's say the name is new package, and we click finish. So now we have new package here. Right, so now I can right click here on new package and say new class, and here you will see that it gives us the name of both the packages. So we want this one at the moment, new package, and let's say the class is B. So once again you can see you have your class B here, and again this class is public, so the file name is also b.java. So this way you can add classes and packages to your source package or to your project. Okay, now we will look at the main structure of our Java program. This is our main class, right, Java 1 demo, and you can see the file name is also Java 1 demo.java. This is the main class because it has the main method, that is the entry point from where your program or your application starts. this is always like this: public static void main and string, and then you have the argument name. So this one always remains as it is, and this is the area where we are going to do our programming. Now in Java, remember that every statement ends with a semicolon. The compiler knows that now the statement has ended when it sees the semicolon. Secondly, Java is also case sensitive, like C and C sharp or C++. So if you have a variable a and you have capital A, it means both of them are different. Both variables are different, they are not same. Okay, now when you are doing programming or you are starting to learn programming, you need to understand three basic building blocks that are there in programming. Now these are, okay, when you want to comment in Java, you can use the double slash for single line comment, or you can use the slash star and star slash for multiple line comments. Okay, here there are three things that I just talked about, three building blocks. You can see here one of them is the sequence, the second is selection, and the third one is iteration. Sequence is the order in which instructions occur and are processed, means this is the top down approach. If like when this file runs, most probably it goes from this statement to this and then it continues here. If I have more statements here, it will go one by one on every statement from top to down. It's not going to jump that it goes directly to statement 10 or line 10 and then comes back to first line. We have other ways of handling that. Second one is called the selection, which determines which path the program takes when it is running. Okay, in selection we will see that we are going to use the if else things. On the basis of our conditions, we are going to select the path that, okay, this is the path that it should be selected on the basis of whatever criteria we have. The third one is known as the iteration. An iteration is the repeated execution of a section of code when a program is running, which means iterations are the loops. That can be for loop, while loop, do while loop. So these are the three basic control structures that you need to understand, and only then you would be able to do some programming, or you can create some logic out of something. Okay, now if we want to comment a line, what we can do, the shortcut for commenting lines, you can select those lines, those statements, and you can press Control and forward slash. It's going to give us the it's going to comment those lines. And again, if you want to uncomment them, you can simply again select those commented section and then press Control and forward slash. So this way you can comment the lines easily. Okay, now we will look at some basic data types in Java. Okay, we have some basic data types here. The first one is integer, then you have float, you have character, you have boolean, and you have string. A string is also, you can call it a data type, but usually it's a separate class. Now integer, you can have whole numbers in integer, right? Integer can be a 2 byte, a 4 byte integer. Float, in float you can have numbers that are decimal. Then you have character, here you can have single character and you need to enclose them in single quotations. Boolean is a data type where you can have true or false, 0 or 1, yes or no, these type of values. In a string data type you can add strings, text, in whatever combination you want to add, you can add everything in the string data type. Then we also have the double data type, which is also important here, and it is the same thing as float, but it has a bigger size. You can have a bigger number in double as compared to float. Something like this. Okay, now we will look at the operators. The first one is the arithmetic operators, and these are the very common plus, minus, multiply, divide, and then you have the modulus and increment and decrement operators. Let's say I create a variable a and a variable b, and let's say I have one variable which is known as result. So we can do something like this. Now here we have used the arithmetic operator, which means it's going to add a and b, and always remember that the direction of this addition actually starts from the right side. It's actually b plus a is equal to result. So whatever value we put into a, let's say we put 5 here and we put 3 here, so the result should be 8. Now how can we see if the result is 8? We need to print this value. So for printing we can use the system.out.println, which is, you can see here, if you want the system to, or if you want the IDE to generate the here I need to type system.out.println. Okay, so the easier way to do that is we can simply, let's say, start with s y s, and now I can press control and space bar. So this is your, you can say, IntelliSense. It tells you what you want, right? So I'm just going to choose this one for now, system.out.println, and here I have my value. So I can type in the value, or I can also do something like this. I can write s o u t and press the tab key. You can see it gives me the same thing. So now what I can do here, I can come and say result is equal to, and here I need to type the variable that has the value. So I can use the plus operator. Now this operator is not the arithmetic operator. Now it's the concatenation operator, means it is adding two values or two strings or two values in fact. So here I can write result. Okay, and now I can run and check this. You can see it shows us the result is 8. So similarly I can, instead of writing the plus operator, I can use the minus operator. It gives me 2, that is 5 minus 3, and then I can use the multiply operator, which is the asterisk sign. You can see it's 15, and I can use the divide operator. Now okay, now you can see the answer is 1. When we divided 5 by 3, the answer is 1. It should have been, let's say, let us change this 3 to 2 so that we can explain it easily. Now you can see the answer is 2, while we know that the answer is supposed to be 2.5. So remember that here we have our integer data type. Integer cannot hold a decimal value, so it means this answer is not going into result, because result is integer. So it only took the integer part while it left out the decimal part. So if we want that decimal part to be transferred here, we can do simply, for now I'm not going into more detail, I'm going to make all of them as double. Okay, so to make them double and so that they behave as double, we can for now we can just put 5.0 and 2.0, right? So let us see what it does now. Now we have the answer as 2.5. Now here there is more explanation how this works. I mean, we can do it with integer and we can keep the result as double, and then how this calculation is done. So I'm not going into detail about all these things. Okay, for now you can just see that we have all the values as double and we can do division very easily. Okay, now the next one is our modulus operators. Okay, for modulus I'm going to change this one to the percent sign. Right, now we are dividing 5 by 2. Now let us just look at it and then we will do the exploration. Now you can see the answer is 1. Why it is 1? Because when you divide 5 by 2, the quotient part is your 2, while the remaining or the remainder is 1. Right, so this modulus operator is known as the remainder operator. Right, so the result has here the remainder part, not the quotient part. Then we have the increment and decrement operators. Let's say we remove all this. I have integer a is equal to 0. Now here I can come and write a plus plus, and then here I can print so here a was 0 and here we have done a plus plus, so you can see a is 1. So this is called the increment operator, and at the moment this one would also work exactly the same. Now a is 2, right? So this is known as increment operator. Now let's say if I have this one as 5 and here I say a minus minus, let us block this one. You can see a is 4, it has been decremented, and again now it is 3. Okay, these operators that I have used this way, like writing it after the variable or writing it before the variable, this is known as prefix and postfix. So there is one more other video that I have, you can watch that one, and where I explain what a postfix is and what a prefix is and how it changes, so that would make more sense to you. Okay, one more explanation with this prefix and postfix. Now a minus minus, or let's say a plus plus, this is exactly same as a is equal to a plus 1. Similarly this one is exactly the same as a is equal to a minus 1, right? And sometime we use this one as, let's say, a plus equal to 2. Okay, we will run this one. Here we have a is equal to 5, a plus plus, minus minus a, and a plus equal to 2. This one actually means that we are trying to write something like this: a is equal to a plus 2. This statement is exactly the same as this one. So now let us see what answer we get here. Okay, we have 7. A was 5, here a becomes 6, here a becomes 5 again, and then we added 2 to that value again, so it becomes 7. So this is how we can, so instead of writing this all, we can simply write this. Okay, now we will look at the assignment operators. These are also similar. We have the equal or assignment operator, plus equal to operator, minus equal to, multiply equal to, divide equal to, and modulus equal to. You can see here the examples. We just need to write the number on the other side or on the right side, which is equivalent to x is equal to x plus 3, while this is x is equal to x minus 3, this is x multiplied by 3, x divided by 3, and x mod 3. So let us just have a look at these assignment operators. Okay, we can have something like, let's say we initialize this one with 2. So we can say a plus equal to 2. This is exactly the same as a is equal to a plus 2. Okay, you can see here it says a is equal to 6. Here we started with a is equal to 2, a plus equal to 2, which means now a is 4, and then 4 plus 2 is equal to 6. So this is how this works. Now let's try the other thing. We make this one minus, this one also minus. Let's say this is 4. Now a is equal to 4. When we said a minus equal to 2, which means now a is 2. And here 2 minus 2 is 0. You can see here it says 0. Then we have, okay, here this is the assignment operator in the first part. A is equal to 4, which means 4 is assigned to a. So it usually goes from the, you can say, the right side. Okay, the next one is multiply. So let's replace this one with star and this one also with star. So here a is equal to 4, here a multiply equal to 2, meaning multiply 4 by 2, which is 8, and then again here 8 multiplied by 2, which is 16. So let's see what is printed. You can see it is 16. Okay, the next one is divide. Let's say this is, let's say 8. So a is equal to 8. Here it's 8 divided by 2, which is equal to 4, and then 4 divided by 2, which is equal to 2. You can see a is 2. And then we have the modulus operator. Let's see how this one can work. Okay, this one we will try to do it just once, because it's going to, or we will do it. Okay, we replace this one by, so we have 9, and we say a mod equal to 2, meaning a should have the remainder when we divide 9 by 2, which should be, the remainder should be 1. The remainder is 1. So this is how these assignment operators work. Okay, now we will look at the conditions and if statements. Now in Java or in any other language, the if conditions, if statements usually work exactly the same. Now here we have just 4 points which you can remember, which you can try to remember, in fact, that we use if to specify a block of code to be executed if a condition specified is true, right? Then it says we use else to specify a block of code to be executed if the same condition is false. That is, we are connect this if, this else is connected with this if. Okay, then we have use else if to specify a new condition to test if the first condition is false. It means we have multiple ifs in our statements. The last one is the switch, which we use to specify many alternative blocks of code to be executed, right? So let us just have a look at the if statement and the syntax of if, how it works. If, let's say I have some value in integer a, now I can write if statement something like this. You have the keyword if, then you have the bracket open and close, and here you can write the condition. Let's say if a is equal to, now in Java you need to use equal twice to show the comparison. The single equal is for assignment, while the double equal is for comparing two values. So if now I'm trying to compare if a is equal to, let's say, 5. So here I can say a is 5, right? So now let us run this one and see what it displays. You can see here it did not display anything. Now I will change this to 5. So you see here it displays a is 5. So it means this condition is true. If a is equal to 5, then do this, right? This is the first statement. Now let's say if a is not 5, what do we have to do? We need to go with else. Now let me come and change this one to, let's say, 3. So first it says if a is equal to 5, if the value of a is 5, then print a is 5. Otherwise or else print a is not 5. You can see here it says a is not 5, right? Okay. Now we have something here. Instead of going with this one, we can go with the else if to specify a new condition to test if the first condition is false. So our first condition is false. So here I can say else if I can go with a new condition and I say a is equal to 1, or let us start from here. Let's say this is 1, we say a is 1, right? And here we say a is 2, and here we can say a is 2, right? Now let us see what happens here. Okay, we can put the else here without the if also. A is not 1 and not 2. Okay, here it says a is not 1 and not 2. Now let us say make this one as 1. You can see a is 1 and the other things are not printed. Let's say 2. A is 2, right? So we can have multiple if else like this, and the last one should be this else is connected with this if, while this else is connected with this if. It can be like that. You can have multiple ifs also. Like for example, let us remove this one and I say if a is equal to 2, do this, and let's say we put else here, right? A is 2. If I say 1, still it's the same thing, but what happens here? Okay, you can see it goes with this else because this one is false, so this else is connected with this if. So that is why it is displaying a is not 1 and not 2. So these all need to be connected. I need to put here else also, or I can do one thing. Instead of writing else, I can say if a not equal to 1. Okay, now we have not done the operators, so I will just skip this one, this part, but we can have multiple ifs here. I will just go with this one. First we need to do the operators, then we can come back and try to go through this. A is 3, so I can say a is 3. So now you can see it will still work, but the difference here is, now let's say 2. Now we know that a can have one value at one time, right? So it means if we find the value on the first attempt or on the first if, we do not need to go to the second or third if. We need to get out of this loop immediately, or these statements immediately. But in this case what happens, even if a is 1 or a is 2, a is 3, this statement goes through all of them. Okay, it will check with a is equal to 1, and even if this is true, still it goes and checks for 2, and still it goes and checks for 3. So this is what happens. You can have multiple ifs like this, but it is time consuming. More instructions are being run if you use this way of coding. So it is better to have else if. So you know that okay, these are the values that we have in these are the values that we will have for this condition. Okay, then we have, okay, let us go for some other examples now. Let us remove this one. Now usually what happens when you are using if, most of the time you need to have a boolean value, because the check there that you have is always true or false. So we have a boolean variable, something like this. Let's say this is false. What is the, okay, sorry. Then we can have now what we can write something like this, if is moving. So when I'm writing this one, if is moving means it is trying to test if is moving is true, meaning it can be something like this. I can do this also, if is moving is true, do this, or if is moving is false, do this. So if I just write it like this, it means it is checking if is moving is true or not. Okay, if you want to have multiple statements against if, we can enclose those statements in curly braces. Now what it should do, okay, here what we can do, we can simply reduce the speed, and we can say if is moving is true, or if is moving is, let's say, now at the moment is moving is, or we can have here else. Right, if is moving is true, do this, otherwise do this. Let's see what it does. You can see it says not moving because this is false. So let me change this one to true, and let us say we can write here current speed also, and we know that what has happened. You can see here it says speed reduced 99, right? Speed reduced to 99 if it was moving. So we can have something like this also. So this is the basic syntax and very simple example for the if statement, if else statement, or if else if statement. Okay, now we look at the comparison operators. We have done if with the basic conditions, but there are some more comparison operators also. Like the first one we had here, which says equal to. Here this is the comparison. We are trying to compare two values on both sides. Something like this, x is equal to y, or x equal to y, or if x is equal to y means x and y have the same value. The next one is not equal to. If you want to see that x is not equal to y, we use this operator, exclamation and equal sign. Then we have the greater than, x is greater than y, x is less than y, or x is greater than equal to y and x is less than equal to y. So these are all comparison operators. Okay, the next one is the logical operators. Okay, you can also test for true or false values with logical operators. Logical operators are used to determine the logic between variables or values. Now the first one is the logical and we represent that one, or Java represents that one with double ampersand. Returns true if both the statements are true, means we have and in the middle, while on this side we have logical, we are using logical operators on the left side, and we are using some logical operators on the we are using comparison operators on the left side and comparison operators on the right side. So if both of them are true, because we have the and logical operator, if x is less than 5 and x is less than 10, true. But if both values are true, only then this statement is run, or the statement coming after if is run. The next one is logical or, meaning any one of them is true, the left side or the right side, any one is true, this statement will be executed. And the last one is not. So when you apply whatever value comes out of this, you can apply not to it and it will reverse that. If this, the result of this all is false, this not will make it true. Reverses the result, returns false if the result is true. Means if it is true with all these values, then it will be turned to false. So this one reverses the result out of this. Okay, now we will look at the if statements with the comparison and logical operators. Okay, we can start with something like a is equal to 2 and we have two values a and b. Now we can write simple statements, something like we have done this one, a is equal to 2, right? Means if a is equal to 2, then do this. But now we can do something like this also. Let's say if a is, or let's say if a is less than b, then a is less than b, or you can write here else a is not less than b. So let us run this. You can see here it says a is less than b. Now I can make this one as 5, or even if I make it 4, you can see it says a is not less than b. So that is correct, a is not less than b, it is equal to b. So we can have something here which is something like this. If a is less than or equal to b, then we can say a is less than or equal to b, and here it says a is not less than b. Now let us first run this and then we will just change some values. A is less than or equal to b, so let us say 2. Again it is a is less or equal to b, less than. Now let's say we make this one as 5. A is not less than b. A is not less than or equal to b. A is not less than or equal to b, right? So this way you can use the comparison operators which are less than, equal to, greater than or greater than equal to, and the last one was not equal to, right? So let us try the not equal to. Okay, now I have corrected this one. Now see what happens. Let's say we have 3 here and we run this. It says a is not equal to b because a and b are not equal, right? So if I make this one as 4, still I get the same thing. Now if I make them equal, I will get the second option where a is equal to b, right? So these are our comparison operators. Now the next one are the logical operators. So let's see how they will work. I have values again here a and b. Now what I can do, I can say if a is equal to 4 and b is equal to 3, right? Then we can say a, let's say just put it like that, and b is 3, right? and this one we will come to this one. Let us just get away with the first one. You can see here it says A is 4 and B is 3 because both the conditions are true. Now let us say we make this one 5, we make this one something. Oh, let's say make this one B is 3, B is 3. Okay. Now here we can say A and B. Okay, A is, let's say, not equal to 4 or B is not equal to 3, right? So now let us run this one. You can see here it says A is not equal to 4 or B is not equal to 3. So one of this condition is false. If both the conditions are true, only then this works out, because we have the logical AND here, right? Now we can also have the logical OR here, which means if A is equal to 4 or B is equal to 3, any one is true, this statement will run. A is equal to, okay, we can say something like A is equal to 4 or A is equal to 4 or B is equal to 3. So one of them is true here, which is B, right? While if both of them are wrong, let's say we change this one to, or we change this one to 6. Now both of them are false. A is not equal to 4 and B or B is not equal to 4. No, we can say something like this, and in this case, right? A is not equal to 4 and B is not equal to 3. You can see both of them are different. So this condition works like this. Okay, the last one we have here is the NOT operator. Now see, always remember this if statement only works if the condition becomes true. So now let's say I will put something here. If B is equal to, let's say, 4, right? Now B is what? 6. So it means this condition becomes false, right? And I come and put here not. Let us put it here. Now if B is equal to 4, B is not 4, it means this condition is false, but I have applied the NOT operator to it to make it true, right? So it means the condition is true. I will just put here true. Let's see what happens. You can see it displays true. While the condition is false, this part is false. B is equal to 4. If B is equal to 4, B is 6. But this false is turned into true. So this is how we can use the logical and the comparison operators. Now we will look at the switch statement and see the syntax and how to write it. Okay, for the switch statement, first thing I will just show you how it is written, then I will explain. Now here you have the keyword switch, and here you need to have the values or the variable in which you will have some values, and on the basis of those values you are going to switch the cases, right? So let's say the variable is A, and here we need to write the keyword case, and let's say the value in A is 1, and what we need to do if the value is 1, we just print 1 here, right? Similarly, we can have all those possible values that can be there in the variable A, and against that we can write the statement that should be executed if those values are there. Let's say if there is 3, then what should happen? We need to write all the statements here before the next case starts. We can have, for multiple statements, we can have something like this. I can just press enter and add one new line and keep on writing my statements here, and this one is 5. Okay, so now we have something like this. Now let's say the value in A is 3. Now we will run this and see what happens, and I will try to explain why that is happening. Okay, now see, our value is 3. It means this statement is supposed to be executed only, not 4 and 5, right? But it is printing 3, 4 and 5, right? That is not, it shouldn't happen like that. Now you can see one thing, 1 and 2 are not printed. It means switch immediately takes you to that point or that case that is equal to this value. It does not go to 1 and 2. If we had, let's say, 1000 cases on top of this, still it would go directly to this case. It won't go to all those cases. But yes, after this it goes to the rest of the cases. We need to stop this. So to block this, I need to write a keyword here which is called break. Right, break. What break does, it takes the control out of the switch statement, means out of this curly braces. You can see here now it only displays 3. Now but if I had here 1, what will happen now? You can see it displayed 1, then it displayed 2, then it displayed 3 also, and then it found the keyword break, and then it got out of the switch statement. So it means we need to put this break keyword on every statement. Okay, now let's see. You can see it's only on 1. Let's see 3. Again it's only 3, and it's 4, and it is 5 also. Let's see 5. Okay, now I put a value that is not there. I mean a value against which there is no case. Okay, nothing happened. So we have one more keyword here which is called default. Okay, and here I can let's say something like that. Now this is the last statement, so I don't need to write the break value here. You can see here it says invalid value. So if you try to, or if the variable has a value that is not included in these cases, it would go directly to default, and then here you can write whatever error you want to write. So this is the basic syntax of switch statement. This is very basic. There are some other options also that you can apply on switch, but for now we just need to understand how switch works. Okay, the next topic that we will go through is the looping statements. Okay, the loops that we will be talking about are there are 3 types of loops in most of the languages, which is the for loop, while loop, and the do while loop. So we will start with the for loop. The first thing you write is for, that is the keyword, and then you can have the parentheses open and close. Now inside this parentheses we have 3 statements. The first one is called the initialization statement. The second one is called the condition checking or check statement, and the last one is called the increment or decrement. So we start like this. Now here you can define the type also. Let's say it's integer. I mean you can define the variable. Most of the time it should be an integer, right? It's a whole number, so you know how many number of times the loop should iterate. So let's say I is equal to 0. So we have declared and defined I here, which starts from 0. It can start from any number, depends on your logic. Then the next one is the condition, that this loop should continue until I reaches 10, less than 10. And the third one is the increment. Now remember that this for loop and one statement after this, all this is a single statement, because see, we don't have any semicolon here, right? So I can write it on the next line also, but still it's a single statement. Always remember that. Like, let's say, let me write it here. Now here I want to print the value of I, so I can do something like this. So now this is one single statement, in fact, including the for loop, right? Inside the for syntax we have three different statements, you can say, but it is part of the for loop. So this is one single statement we have here, because we have one semicolon. Now if I want to have more than one statement for this loop or any loop, I can do that by including it inside the parenthesis like this. Okay, now let us run this. You can see here I goes from 0 to 9 because the first value is 0. Now if I want this 10 to display also, I can do something like this. If I is less than 10, or until I is less than or equal to 10. You can see I is 10 here. So this is the way you can work with the for loop. Okay, now we will look at the do while loop. Now the syntax for the do while loop is something like this. Okay, the syntax here, we have the do keyword, we have parentheses open and close, and we have the while keyword, and in this, these are curly braces, and in the parentheses we have the condition. So as long as this condition is true, the do while loop keeps on going on. When the condition is false, it exits the loop. So we have something like this. Now let's say I will just put the keyword true. We are not going to run this one, because if we try to run this, it becomes an infinite loop. It's just true, there is no condition there. So let us start with something here. We say integer a is equal to, let's say, 0, and here we are incrementing the, now always remember that we can have different types of conditions here. We can even check that if this character is there, or this key has been hit, or the mouse has been clicked here, or anything, any type of condition you can put it here, but that condition has to be true for the loop to run. So I am just trying to write here a very simple one. And here we can come and say a is less than 10. So I'm doing exactly the same thing what I did in the for loop. So when we start from here, a is 0, it gets into the loop, we increment the value, and then we print it. Or let's say we put this one here. So we print the value and then we increment it, and then it checks if a is less than 10. Okay, then it goes back to do again, otherwise it goes out of the loop. So let's say I can come and print something here, and we say that a is okay. We can leave it like that. So let us try to run this and just see what it does. You can see here it prints from 0 to 10. Now always, okay, let's see, we can, instead of doing that, we can come and say here Okay, so we know that it is different from the first one. Now here you can see here it goes from 0 to 9. It is inside the loop. This is outside when it is 10. So it means the moment a becomes 10, it leaves the loop. So that's why it is 10 here. So this is how the do while loop works. Okay, now one thing that is you should know about that, do while loop will run at least once even if the condition is false. Let's say I make this one as 10, right? So here we said a less than 10, or let's say I make this one 100. Okay, now a is 100, so it means this loop should not run, but it is going to run at least once because it gets in without checking the condition or without checking the value of this a. It will print it and increase this one, increment it, and then it's going to check a is less than 10 or not. So it's not going to be less than 10, so it will leave the loop. You can see here it says a is equal to 100 here on this line, right? And then it goes out of the loop because the condition was false. Okay, the next one is our while loop. Let's leave this one like that. Again, the syntax is while. Here we have the condition, and then in the parentheses we have our statements that we want to execute. So I'm going to repeat again the same example here. This loop should run when a is less than 10, right? We make this one 0, and here we can come and print again. And here we can once again say a plus plus. So what does it do? A is 0, a is less than 10, the condition is true, so it goes and prints a. Now it's going to print 9, and then it's going to make this one as 10. So it comes and checks the value, it is not less than 10, so it will leave the loop. So let's say again we type something similar here when it is out of the loop. Right, so let us see what it does. Once again you can see it goes from 0 to 9, and then the 10 is printed when it is out of the loop. So these are the simple syntax for loop, do while, and the while loop. Okay, there is one more type of loop which is for loop in fact, but it is called the for each loop. For each loop. Now the syntax for each loop is that you have the for keyword, you have the parentheses, and here you write the type variable, means the data type of the variable, and then the variable name. Then you have a colon sign here, and then you write the name of the array. Here you can use the variable to traverse through that array. Now here I have put the example. I have an array of string, and I have the names of these cars here. Now I said for, you don't need to write each here, it's just the for, but the syntax is different. Now the type of this, it means the array is string type, so I'm going to write string I, and then I write the name of the array, that is cars. So once I am printing this one, I simply say system.out.println and I. Now this I is going to increment by itself, and it's going to pick every value on each index from starting from 0 and then going up to the end of the array, right? So here you type the name or that exactly the same data type of that array. Then here you have the variable name, this can be anything, and then here you have the name of that array. So it means this I traverses through the cars array. So let us run this. You can see here it goes through the array printing every value. So we don't have to write the index or anything for the array here. Okay, here we will look at two keywords in Java, which is break and continue. The break keyword we have seen this one in the switch statement, where we wanted to exit once the condition or the case has been met. So wherever we put the break keyword, it breaks that loop or that block of statement and goes out of it, right? Then we have the other one, which is continue. Wherever it sees continue, it's going to continue it. Now here I have put one small example. This is a for loop that goes from 0 to 10, right? Now here I have put one condition which says if I is less than equal to 4, it's going to print continue and then the value of I, right? And after that I have continue. Now what this continue does, this is an if statement, right? So it means if this continue was not here, it will read this and then come back to this one also, right? But what I'm trying to do, let's say if I remove this one from here, what it does, let's see what it prints. See, it says continue 0 and then after continue it prints this one and then comes and print this one also, right? That is what is happening here. Okay, now we have after continue means when the condition is not less than or equal to 4, it goes out and starts printing this. But we don't want this. What we want, that it should first print continue and the number that is from 0 to 4, it shouldn't come here. It should not come to this line at all, to this statement. Once it is more than 4, only then it comes to this statement. So that is why we have put continue here. So if it is less than or equal to 4, it prints this and says continue. It means the control goes back to the top. Now you can see here the first is 0, 1, 2, 3. It is here, right? It doesn't come to this statement. Once this condition has reached, then it starts to print the rest of it and it doesn't come here. So this is how the continue works. Okay, now here I have put these two lines. Now what I'm trying to do here, this one is already done, you know what this is doing. Now here I have put if I is equal to 7. So the moment I is equal to 7, it's going to print this and it's going to break. Means the loop should end here. The loop should not go until 10, or it should not go up to 10. It needs to break when it is 7. So let us see if it works like this or not. Okay, now see we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is the first part. Now 5 and 6, certainly the loop goes through 5 and 6, but we have not printed anything. The moment it reaches 7, it is printed, right? 7, and then it breaks. It does not go back to any other value. So this is how the continue or break keywords work. Okay, now let us look at the arrays, how we can implement arrays in Java. Okay, we can initialize the array like this, and we can also do something like this. This is called declaration and definition at the same point, or initialization at the same point. While here we have declared the array, but we do not have any values inside the array. So later we can add the values, and if you want to add the value, we can do something like this. Here we need to write the index, and then we have some value, something like that. Okay, we can create an array of string also. You need to place the square brackets here, or you can also place it here, still it works, I think. Let's see. Yes, so you can do it both ways. If you want to put it here, you can do that, or if you want to put it with the data type, you can do that also. Okay, we have cars. Let's see, we do the same thing again. Okay, we have two types of arrays, integer and string. Now let's see how we can traverse through these arrays. Okay, to traverse through the array we need to have some sort of loop, and the easiest one is our for loop. Okay, here now we don't know the length of the array, right? We can see it that what it is, but most of the time we don't know what is the length of the array. So the easiest way is to do something like this: car dot, you can see here it shows you length, right? So we have said here less than the length. Now our array always starts from 0, or the array in Java always starts from 0. So the first index is 0. So this statement less than cars.length is correct. When it says cars.length, it is always it's going to display 5. Let's see, instead of writing this one, we can come and check this also, or we can simply print it. Cars.length. So let's have a look what is the length of the array. You can see here it shows 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because that is the length. But when we talk about the index, it's going to start from 0. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now here we want to print the name of the car, right? So how we can do that? First thing, the name of the array, and then we have the square bracket, and then the variable that is going through all the index, right? That is cars I. So the first one is going to be 0, that is I is equal to 0, and the car name that is on the 0 index would be displayed, and then it's going to continue that way. So let's look. You can see here the first one is Volvo, BMW, and then it goes on like that. So this is how you can display the array, or you can traverse through the array. Let us try the number. We have the same variable here, and then we can say plus plus, and here I need to write numbers. So it's going to traverse through all the numbers also. You can see here the first array displays all the values, the string array, and the second one displays the integer array. So this way you can define your arrays, the integer arrays or the string or any other type of the array. You can traverse through them like this, and you can define and declare like this. Now we will look at the multi-dimensional arrays. So okay, these are our single dimensional. Let's try to create these ones as multi-dimensional. Now multi-dimensional means that you have let's say rows and columns, right? So what we can do here, okay, let us just remove everything from here. Now we will start something like this. We have the last or ending, starting, ending curly braces, and then we have the inner one also. So or let us do one more thing here. Okay, now this is our multi-dimensional array. Now what we can do here, okay, here we need to define this one as twice we need to display because we have multi-dimensional array. Now it is always a good idea to place them something like this so that it makes it very clear that this is a multi-dimensional array. Let's put this one down so we know what is happening here, right? So now we have, now let's say we have 3 rows and 3 columns. Let us add one more here. So now we have 4 rows and 3 columns, right? So this is our first multi-dimensional array. Now we need to, okay, let us just remove all this from here. Now we will block this and we just need to work on this part here. Now how to display this array, in fact how to if you are using the scanner class, you can also input values for this array. Now but first we need to see how to go through this array. So we will start with the for loop. Now here we need to know the length of the array. Okay, before we do this, let us just display this one, the length, and see what it displays. So it makes it clear. Okay, now here you can see that it is displaying 4. Now what is 4? We have 4 rows here, right? So it means the first part that it displays the length of this array, multi-dimensional array, is always the rows. That is when you have a comma and before that the curly braces, how many of them you have here? We have here 3 of them. Now we can do one more thing here. I can come and say for the first row, 0 means the first row, the length of the first row, and you can see it says 3. So this is 3. So this is how we can use our length. So let us block this once again and come back here. Now here we have numbers dot length. Okay, it's not complete. Then here we say I plus plus. Now this is the first part. Okay, now numbers dot length will give us 4. It means we have 4 rows, right? But the next part is we need to know how many columns are also there. It means we need to have 2 for loops. One loop will go through the rows and one will go through the columns, right? So the first one is rows. It means this loop is going to run 4 times and the inner loop is going to run 3 times. We are not going to fix it 3 times. We will find the length just like that. So we call this one j is equal to 0, j is less than. Now we have numbers, and what do we select here? We need to put here an index. Now one index is already looping here, that is I. So instead of writing a hard coded index, I just need to write here a variable which is I, and then I say length, right, the length of this one. So and then we say j plus plus. And here we need to display the value. So what do we write here? We need to have two indexes, means one for the row and one for the column. So the first one needs to be for the row. It means, sorry, this one needs to be I, because I is what? The row. So I goes 4 times. The first time I is 0 and j is also 0. So the value on 0 0 is what? 1. Then we have this value here 1. This is on index 0 0, means the row is 0 and the column is 0. Then the next value, this one, the row is 0, this is the row which is 0, and this is the column, that is 1. So the next loop that it will have, it will be j would be 1 here. Now let us try one thing here, and so that it displays. Now this might look a little complicated, but it will display nicely. This is j. We can say value on all this is, and then we have the number. Now if this is looking complicated, what I have, okay, let us just display it first, run it first, and see if it is printing it properly. Then I will explain what it means. Okay, you can see here our this is going 0 0 0 1 0 2 and then 1 0 1 1 1 2. It means these are the rows. The first is the 0, this one, row number 0, or the row on index 0 is this. So we have the value 1 3 and 5, these ones. You can see here this one is changing. I is 0 because the first loop that is running here, the first loop that runs here is I, which is the rows. So it goes 3 times, and for 3 times we have 3 different index for the column, right? And then it changes to 1, and this one again goes to 0 1 2. This one changes to 2, and then it goes to 0 1 2 again, and then it goes on like that. And we have all already 1 3 5, the first one, 2 4 2 4 6, then 7 8 9, and then we have 4 6 2. So this way you can traverse through a multi-dimensional array. And if you want to get this value from the user, or you want to input this value using the scanner class, you can do it exactly at this point, and you can move the value into this index. You can show the index here like this, numbers ij is equal to, and then the scanner class variable for the input you have, and you can move the value into this, right? So this way you can create a multi-dimensional array. Okay, now we will see how to take input on the console using the scanner class. Okay, the first thing, before using the scanner class, we have to import a package, a class, which you can do it something like this: import java.utilities.scanner, right? So we have to do this to use the scanner class. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do here is to create one double dimension array. Okay, I have defined here a double dimension array of type integer, and we will try to take input into these values, which has 3 rows and 2 columns. Okay, now to use the scanner class, what we need to do first is to create an object of the scanner class, something like this: new scanner, and here we can use system.in, which means input. Okay, now we have a double dimension array. It means we need to have 2 for loops so that we can take the input into rows and columns. So we can say this is our first array. Now j can be less than numbers, and we need to write the index of the row, because this one goes row wise, right? We have 3 rows, so this loop, the first one, is going to run 3 times. So here we need to use the row number, which is I, and then we can say dot length, and then we have j plus plus. Okay, here now we can write the, let's say we can simply write enter a value, right? This is going to display for every value. Then we need to take the input into first the columns and then the rows. It means the inner for loop is running for the columns, the outer one is for the rows. So here we are going to do numbers, and here we have I, and here we have j, right? And now what are we going to use? We have created the object for the scanner class, which is in, right? So we need to write in dot, and now we have a lot of different options to take input, which can be an integer, it can be a byte, it can be short, double, or we have one which is called the line input. Okay, here we are going to use the next integer, right? So this line will stop for the user to input a value. Okay, after this we need to display these values also. So what I will do, I will simply, let me just write here display. Okay, again the same thing, the loop runs from I to numbers less than numbers dot length, and then j runs from numbers index of the row and dot length, and here we are going to simply display this. Let's say we remove all this. Okay, we will try to display these ones as let us create something like this. The inner loop, when the inner loop finishes, this one, instead of writing println, I'm going to write just print. Okay, and then here we just need this. So now this is going to display the, let us have some space also. Now once this loop finishes, I want to just display println, means a new line. So let us see how this thing works out. Here just you remember, the first thing that you need to do is to import the scanner class, which you imported like this. Then you need to create an object of the scanner class, which is in, which is going to be used for the input, and this is here your new scanner system.in. Now here you say this variable, this object, in dot next integer. Now here we have some more options. You can see here we have next boolean, next byte, next double, next float, next integer, and next line. This is very important. So for you, next integer, Next double and next line, these three can be important. Next line reads a string value from the user. It means you can type a complete sentence and then press enter, and that value will be input. Okay, so we will try to run this one and see if everything works. Okay, now let us just run it and see. Okay, now it is asking us to enter a value. So let's say okay, now you can see we have entered 6 values, which means 3 rows and 2 columns, which makes it 6, right? So here we have it 3 rows and 2 columns. So I have displayed it something like this. It shows you clearly that we have 3 rows and 2 columns. So this is how you can use the scanner class for inputting the values from the user.